Then the woman came in to put the thing in my arm, and I thought it was a catheter, and we had a very awkward moment. Hello everyone, this feels weird. Welcome to my first sit down story time video. I had started this channel just wanting to do like B-roll and then do voiceovers over it, which is, if you watched my first video on the channel, you'll know that was my intention. But actually I've been filming some more vloggy style things, and I thought, no, I do want to tell this story, and I want to do it on a sit down because I think it's the only way to do it justice. So I'm going to do my makeup at the same time because I need something for my hands to do. Otherwise it will just be a lot of this and all the cuts will just look really weird. So what are we working with today? I've been using a new skincare routine. They're not new products or anything to me, but since I've stopped breastfeeding, I can start to use more targeted products, if that makes sense, with, you know, chemicals in it that aren't really safe if you're breastfeeding. So I'm going to list everything below. I'm not going to talk through my makeup. If people are bothered / care, I'll put it in the description, but let's start at the very beginning. So I, as you know, have twins, and they are twins, and that means they were in separate sacs, and they had their own placentas, and they had their own everything. So everything was separate. When you have twins, you are automatically high risk, and then within the being pregnant with twins category, there are different levels of risk. So my type of twins was the lowest risk because it was basically like having 2 pregnancies in one. I had a good pregnancy. It was I had like no complications. I had no issues. I really enjoyed myself. I found it really difficult like to sleep most nights towards the end. I think from about 25 weeks onwards, I was just really uncomfortable. And to give you an indication, I gave birth at 36 weeks and 4 days. So, yeah, I lasted quite a long time. So what happened was at about 34 weeks, I started getting really itchy palms and bottom of my feet. And I was really struggling with this, and it was so annoying that I told my mum about it. And she is a midwife, so I was like, oh, I'm just getting this really weird like itchiness. I don't really understand why. And she said, okay, I want you to call triage. I was like, right, okay. Completely she didn't say anything other than that, and I know why now. So I called triage, and they said, okay, we're going to need to get you to come in for some blood tests ASAP. Come in tomorrow morning and have them done. So I was like, okay, fine. So my mum told me not to, but I googled it. Itchy hands and feet is a symptom of something called cholestasis, and I might be mispronouncing that, but it's a symptom of cholestasis, and it's where bile from your liver leaks into your blood, and it can be fatal to the fetus. And as I had twins, it was automatically like, we have no idea whether it's more risky because you have twins and cholestasis, or whether it's the same amount of risk, or there's higher chances of fetal death. We don't know. So they were like, right, okay, we'll keep an eye on it, or do the blood tests. Blood test came back, and the levels were below the level where they would have done anything about it. But I think that having twins wasn't taken into consideration, because I think if they had thought, well, you know, it's probably going to be worse because there's 2, let's put her on medication first. I kind of wish they would have done that, but they didn't. So they just said, look, it's not bad enough to do anything about. We're just going to you know, recommend some E45 itch relief cream, and that's it. So I was like, okay, fine. So I got that, I used it, didn't work. About 3 or 4 days later, I was still having the same thing, but I was having reduced movements. Now, I got reduced movements quite a lot through like the last maybe 10 weeks of pregnancy, but I do think it was because I had a anterior and posterior placenta. So I had one at the front and one at the back, and the one at the front, that was like where I could feel most of everything anyway. So the fact that I couldn't feel it, I couldn't feel stuff. I had one set of feet like under my rib, under my left rib, and then I had one like digging into my right hip. So after that, I when the placenta was moving around, because they do move, I didn't know that, but they do move, I couldn't really feel anything. Then I about 4 days later was having reduced movements, and I was still having really bad itchy hands and feet. So I went in, I was monitored, and yeah, was still having the same issue. Everything was fine though, so I went home. A few days later, I was still having really, really, really bad itchy hands and feet, and I ended up going to the hospital at about 11 o'clock at night. We ended up staying there until 6 in the morning, which was insane. I mean, we were in our own room, so it was fine. And, you know, there was a bed and there was a chair. So we got a few hours of sleep. But it was so awful, because I would have wished they would have said, like, right, we've taken your bloods. It's going to be a few hours, or it needs to go to the other hospital first and then come back to us and then whatever. But they didn't. They just said, right, we'll come back to you. And I was like, okay, this is just weird, right? So anyway, we were there for hours, and it was just not a fun time. So I said at about 5:30, I said, look, I'm really sorry, but I need to know when these are going to come back, because we have to get back for the dog. Like, this is the time when we would be, like, it was 6 o'clock. Like, we need to get back to her because we would be getting up now. Like, bless her, she's been locked away all night. We need to go back. And they were like, okay, yeah. Like, we've just got the blood results back through now. So we got the results, and my levels were high enough now to do something about. So they gave me some medication that I had to take every day, and then a medicated cream for my hands and feet because of the itching was still so bad. So I had that, and then it didn't really get any better. I think I had been on it for a week by that point. So yeah, I was like 36 weeks. Maybe it was like 4 or 5 days or something like that. Anyway, I was on them for a period of time. It hadn't got any better. I was having reduced movement. So I went back to the hospital, and this was so they're born on the 2nd of February. So it was the 31st of January. That night I went in, like the evening I went in, and they said reduced movements, I'm still having the itching, let's do another blood test. So I had another blood test, my levels were still rising, and I was like, well, I'm on this medication, why isn't it helping? And she said, oh, it can take like up to 10 days to have any effect. I was thinking, why didn't anyone why don't they just tell you all of this? Yeah, in the morning they said, right, your bloods have come back and they're still rising. We're not sure what we're going to do, but we're going to prepare you for surgery today. And I was like, right, okay. So we're going to have these babies today. Cool. So when they came over at like 7 in the morning, they were like, right, you're not allowed to eat anything now, just have water. This is the anaesthetist, and like he's going to talk you through everything now. I was like, right, okay. And then I called Ed and was like, we might be having these babies today, you need to come here now. I don't know when it's going to happen. And she said, okay. And I said, okay, so what time, like when? And she was like, looked at her, she's like, about an hour. Pretty much shat myself right there and then. It was absolutely insane. I was like, right, okay. Oh yeah, she gave me an hour. Then the woman came in to put the thing in my arm, and I thought it was a catheter, and we had a very awkward moment. They give you the socks, they give you the gown. I walk to the room. I walk into the surgery room. Everyone introduced themselves, my midwife and then her assistant person, like the intern person, was there, and I could see them throughout the time. I was like, hello. They were at the other end of the room. Because she was like, that was, I think, her like first week or something, and it was the first twins that she'd ever seen, so I was like very proud to be the first. Anyway, so that happened, and then the anaesthetic that goes into your back, had that put in. That was easy peasy, so good. The guy that I had was so brilliant. I don't know, I felt like really taken care of. I felt everyone was happy to be there, and they were all smiley, and they were just kind, and we had two amazing women there. I don't know what their job titles were, but they basically, one had my phone, one had Ed's phone, and they just took so many pictures. I've got like the most insane pictures, and it's so lovely. And yeah, it was just the most incredible experience. I felt amazing. Like, they were like, right, so they're ready. They're gonna do it now. I was like, oh my God, okay, I'm ready. So it was pretty quick. I think I was in there from 3:30, and they were born at 3:56 and 3:59. So it was like 20 minutes, and that was just incredible, I think. Yeah, it was just brilliant. They came out and they lowered the curtain, and yeah, I saw, and it was just like the most incredible thing. My boy came out first because he was at the bottom. 3 minutes later, my girl came out, and I looked. My boy was on my chest, and Ed had our girl. And I look over at him, he's sitting there, and I look over at him, and I look at her, and she looks exactly like my grandma, which is just insane to think, but I was literally like, I've birthed my grandma. Like, it was crazy. And it sounds really weird to say that, but she had the same face shape, like the eyes, the lips, the nose, like everything looked exactly like her. It just was kind of all meant to be, because, well, not the fact that she died, obviously, but the fact that she looks like her, she actually has her name, and she was always going to have her name, but the fact that she came out and she looked exactly like her, I was just like, wow, that is amazing. Anyway, before I get emotional, I'm glad I haven't done my mascara yet. So yeah, after they were born, I then went into the like recovery room, which is where two people, they monitor your blood pressure, they monitor your heart rate, they change your dressing and stuff like that, or they check your dressing, they check for like your blood loss and stuff like that. And then a woman from the actual surgery room came in, and she gave like the debrief to say how much blood loss there was. I don't remember, something like, I want to say like 700 mil. I don't know whether that's normal amount or not, but that happened. And then they were put on me, and my midwife came through, and she helped them latch. She was like, I'm not really allowed to touch them. I was like, please just do what you need to do, touch me, touch them, whatever. The whole experience was so wonderful. Everyone I had was incredible. All the surgery staff, all the midwives I had. There was just one person who wasn't very helpful, and unfortunately I think it was because it was like at the point where they were switching shifts and stuff, so I think she was just like, I don't want to deal with this right now, I want to go home. Yeah, then we were just wheeled out. I was wheeled out with him on me and went through the halls, and everyone's been turning around being like, oh my God, congratulations. And it's like, yes, thank you very much. And then we go into the recovery ward, and there's a couple of other people there with their babies, and it's just magical. And the first night, I mean, they tell you that you don't sleep a wink, but I literally did not sleep a wink. But I was just running on adrenaline and all the drugs. I was just really happy. And yeah, I was just so drugged up. It was insane. But it was amazing. I'm really happy that I was always planning to have a cesarean. And I think the main reason I was always planning to have one was because I am not someone that does well with change, and someone that, like, if I don't prepare for it. So I felt the best way for me to be able to mentally cope with the change is to know exactly what's going to happen. And that was to have a cesarean. So for me, that was the best option. I was already offered a cesarean because it was high risk and having twins, so I was offered it already. Yeah, I was really happy with my decision. I did do all the antenatal classes. I actually did 2 lots of antenatal classes because my mum, as I said, is a midwife, and she does antenatal classes for people privately. So she did one for me and Ed, and then I also went to like the group one. So I kind of knew what I was getting into. But I knew all the stuff about the labour, and we had kind of made the decision together. But I knew that if I went into labour, I wanted to know what was going to happen and what was happening to me. And that if I did need to, if things happen really quickly and I did need to give birth vaginally, that I knew what was going to happen and I knew how to do it. So that was really important to me, that I still did all of the classes, even though my preferred birth plan was a cesarean. So I'm very fortunate that actually did happen. I'm obviously not fortunate that it happened the way, when it happened, because I think they were so small, and their first few days wasn't the easiest. I think that needs, as I said, a whole other video, but it wasn't easy. It was emotionally a lot. I had many a breakdown, and I also felt I struggled a lot with sleep deprivation as well, and breastfeeding was amazing, but it took time, and I was forced into expressing and feeding through a bottle, which I really didn't want to do at the start. But then after like a week of doing it, it was the best thing for me, rather than doing it like on-demand breastfeeding, which is what I had been doing for like 5 days. Anyway, sneak peek into the next video. Yeah, so that's my birth story. I hope that was concise and made sense. There are a lot of horror stories out there, and even though my birth didn't really start in the best way, it ended amazingly well, and I'm just super happy with how everything went, and my experience of the NHS was incredible, and I feel very fortunate because I know that isn't the case for everyone, but I just wanted to kind of give some sort of, hope out there if you're currently waiting or you're thinking about what to do. Yeah, I hope my story can help make a decision or just give you another option or another opinion. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Bye.